And so who will be voting? I'm sorry, I'm brand new to
Yeah,
being the chair, so I don't know.
So,
I don't know whose position is what.
associate member?
Yeah.
An associate member, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we can split 2 and 2 with the associates on each case, 2 cases each. So.
Which 2 do you want?
Signs are addition, or one of each.
Yeah, do 1 sign and 1 addition.
I do have 7 o'clock.
Yes, I do too. So, it being 7 o'clock, this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is called to order. I'm Hillary Matif, I'm the chair. Can we introduce ourselves since we're all new to this?
So I'm Andrew McNichol, staff planner for the Town Hall of Reading. Welcome aboard, all new members. Good to see everybody again as well, and welcome public.
I'm Andrew Rasberger, I'm an associate member, just joining this time, so.
My name is Cy Coet. I'm a member, I guess. I was on the board for about 11 years and was asked to come back. So here I am for my first meeting, second meeting.
Second meeting, yep.
My name's Ryan Bork, new member.
I'm Hillary Matif, I'm the chair. This is only my second meeting as chair, so just bear with us while we get ourselves organized.
And I'm Cindy Hartman, member.
Patrick Houghton, associate member, first meeting here.
I'm Britt Bennett, the Building Commissioner for the Town of Reading.
Okay, so let's start with our agenda. Case number 2114, which is 15 Winthrop Avenue. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing in the Select Board Meetings Room at Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, on Thursday, December 16th, 2021, at 7 p.m. on the application of Kyle Coughlin pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, for a special permit under the Reading zoning bylaw sections 7.0, 7.3, and 7.3.2 to construct a deck and separate addition with non-conforming side yard setback to an existing non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot at the property located at 15 Winthrop Avenue, Assessors Map 27, Lot 86 in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there is an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified, as were the following: Select Board, Police Department, Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, members and associate members of the Board of Appeals, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, CPDC, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, North Reading, Woburn, Lynnfield, Stoneham, and Wilmington. If you, testimony given before this board is taken under oath, so if you think you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The response is I do. For this, just for this, whoever's speaking on this agenda. Okay. So, I offer them to,
Yep, so typically the board style is the applicant will give a presentation overview of the application. The board will respond with questions, comments, and answers through you, and then typically it's open to public comment. And then we go from there.
Great. So thanks folks for having us today. I'm Kyle Coughlin, representing myself and our property at 15 Winthrop Ave. My wife and I have been there for the better part of 3 years now, and have been slowly making improvements to the house that had more or less been neglected for the better part of 30 years. We weren't really planning on making the extent of alterations that we were proposing at first, but we lived here for that period of time and got to know the area, the neighborhood, and our neighbors, and we feel like we're going to be staying here for longer than anticipated. And so really what we want to do is we just want to make these alterations that we feel will improve the layout of the home and the functionality of the home. So the first alteration that we're proposing is a small roofed portico at the main entrance of the house at the front. The main reason we want to do this is because we currently don't have any coverage at our entry at the moment. And with online shopping nowadays and receiving deliveries, we have come home to wet packages more than once. And we also feel that because our house is set back from the rest of our neighbors, we feel that having that portico will just increase the aesthetic value of the front of the house, make it more welcoming and more pronounced. The second proposal we are making is to extend. Thank you for playing. Is to extend an existing non-conforming addition at the side of our home. We are currently using that as our pantry, and the goal with this addition is to create enough space to provide a small powder room at the first floor. We currently only have a single bathroom on our second floor, and we just feel like in order to, better the flow and functionality of the house, as well as bring us up to par with some of the other comparable homes in the area that would have a bathroom on each floor. And then lastly is the proposed second story addition at the back with a deck below. And really what we're trying to accomplish with this is two things. It's a small house on a small lot. We have 3 bedrooms at the second floor, and while they're certainly adequate, we just feel that the addition would provide us with some beneficial space to create a primary bedroom of the house. And then secondly, since it's just the second story addition, it would create cover for an exterior living space that connects both the inside and outside, and allows us to enjoy our backyard that we really like. So I hope that this explanation was succinct enough, and I appreciate your time and happy to answer any questions.
thank you. Brett, do you have any comments?
Not really, pretty much explained it pretty good. The rear addition just, he's missing both setbacks on the rear, and then that side addition, both just extending non-conformities, so just looking for a special permit. That's about it.
Cindy, can I start with you?
Sure, I have a question actually. I went and took a look at your property and I couldn't quite visualize the back addition, how far back it's gonna go, and noticed that there's some cement steps there right now.
At the front or the
At the back.
right,
And
yeah.
then there's I think a bulkhead next to them, although it's kind of covered with material right now.
Yeah.
How far, can you give me an idea of how much bigger than those steps the addition would be? How much further would it extend?
So the steps would be completely eliminated. We're getting rid of
I figured,
those.
yeah.
And then if you're looking at the rear elevation of the house, the leftmost face of that bulkhead, that would be the extent of, we would basically align the edge of that addition with the edge of that bulkhead.
I see, okay, that helps, thanks. Okay, it's I can see your difficulties, it's definitely one of the weirder lots I've
It's
ever
a tight one, yeah.
seen, and there haven't been any comments one way or another from particularly your neighbor, I'd say directly in front of you in number 13.
No.
They don't have any.
No, so 13, they actually just sold and moved out, so we're getting new neighbors now. And then 17, we've developed quite a good relationship with them, and they have, given us their full backing.
Okay. All right, I don't think I have anything further to say right now. If you want to move on down.
I'm gonna go to Cy next. I'm not gonna go, I'll give the new people a minute.
Well, the problem you have, it's like a lot of other people who bought homes on small lots years ago that are not in conformity with setbacks with the current bylaws.
Right.
That's unfortunate. So when you want to expand, you don't have a heck of a lot of space to play with, and most of the times you have to go up,
Yes.
But what I see here is that, yes, you are extending the non-conformity, but you're not creating a new one, all right?
Yep.
And that, to me, is the key point on doing something like this, is you're not creating a new one. If the portico were in the front, we're not talking about that tonight, really, because you could have done that without even coming here.
Okay.
So it's just the other two pieces that we're talking about. And since you're not creating a new nonconformity, I frankly don't have a problem with this at all. We can grant a permit to do this if we feel that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood. And I don't think this is certainly not detrimental to the neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
Would you like to?
Yeah, I guess I'd mostly just echo what Cy was saying. I think that, the conformities are pretty much what they are already. You're not really making major changes to them, so I think that seems pretty reasonable as it is.
Ryan?
Yeah, I studied the information ahead of time, and thanks for the explanation, but yeah, no questions and no objections.
And Patrick?
Cy actually addressed my question, which I saw in the denial letter. It didn't address that front part that you're doing, so,
Right.
no,
That's not,
right,
that's not asking for you.
no question.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I think the first one's for Brett. So they're building a second floor addition over kind of a deck, is what I understand?
Yep.
If in the future somebody or they wanna close in that deck, do they have to come back for another special permit?
I would say no.
Okay,
There's already a roof structure over it. That's basically what we look for, is a roof structure, so I would say no.
okay. Just checking on some of those things. Something that I wanted to note is that you have an incredibly thin, narrow lot where I think it was 9 feet is what would be conforming. So, and I think your additions are modest in scale and in keeping with the neighborhood. So I personally don't have an issue, and I think that will better your house. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that since you're building up to have an open deck underneath, that it's I'm almost wishing that you were closing it in, because it's gonna be dark and it's not gonna be as open. It's a very narrow lot.
Right.
So that's my only personal that I can see in the future as something that will be coming. That's what. And that's my main comments, so now I have to open it to the public, right?
Yes, please.
Is there something I'm supposed to say? I'm opening it to public comment.
Yep, perfect.
I
Hearing-
feel their pain. That's all I have to say.
Hearing almost none. I will close the public comment portion, and I think we should identify if it's Andrew or Patrick voting on this. I'll give it to you, and then you'll give the next one. Okay. So voting on this would be Andrew, Cy, Ryan, myself, and Cindy. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to grant the petitioner, Mr. Kyle Coughlin, special permit to construct an 11.75 foot by 18.5 foot deck and a 6.15 inch and by 4.79 foot addition on the property located at 15 Winthrop Avenue in Reading in accordance with the plot plan of land that is dated July 29th, 21, prepared by John D. Sullivan III from Woburn, Massachusetts, and the architectural drawings. I think it's A1 through A3 and EX1 through EX3, all included with the application. And I guess the standard conditions of a special permit would apply to this.
Yes.
Want me to read them off?
Sure, just so you're aware.
First of all, the petitioner submit to the building inspector a certified plot plan of the proposed construction and the proposed foundation plans prior to the issuance of a foundation permit for the work. The petitioner's final construction plans for the new structure shall be submitted to the building inspector along with the as-built foundation plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. And the as-built plan showing the completed construction shall be submitted to the building inspector immediately after the work is completed and prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Do I hear a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that would be 5-0-0.
I pass these down to Hillary, please.
While Hillary's doing that, I was just fascinated about how you can measure these distances to the hundredth of a foot.
They do a good job.
Apparently so.
Send those
Yeah,
back.
sure.
Thank you.
You got it. I'm gonna give you one pair. These are your approved plans that you can take to record at the registry, and then these are for the town clerk files.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you folks. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you too.
Good luck.
All right. Next on our agenda is case number 21-16. Our agenda lists it as 15, but it's actually 46 Fairview Avenue. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing in the select board meetings room at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, on Thursday, December 16th, 2021 at 7 p.m. on the application of Rhonda and Robert Holt pursuant to MGL Chapter 48, Section 9 for a special permit under the Reading zoning bylaw Sections 7.0, 7.3, and 7.3.2 to construct a one-story addition with a non-conforming side yard setback along an existing non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot on the property located at 46 Fairview Avenue, Assessors Map 16, Lot 6 in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there is an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified as were the following: Select Board, Police Department, Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, members and associate members of the Board of Appeals, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, and CPDC, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, North Reading, Woburn, Linfield, Stoneham, and Wilmington. Testimony given before this board is taken under oath, so if you think you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. This is for case number 2116. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The response is, I do. You are welcome to tell us about your request, please.
So we wanna add 4 feet to the back of our existing 8 feet wide by 11 foot long porch, just to make it less small. And like the people before us, I don't think it doesn't extend the non-conformity or add to the non-conformity. We gain an extra foot as we go back towards the house. And the back property line is okay. The new room wouldn't extend beyond the back of the house. And that's it. I don't have a lot to add to that. It's a pretty simple little addition, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just grab your name for the
Sure, my name's Rhonda Holt.
Thank you.
Si, do you wanna go first on this one? Do you have any, do I have to say something else?
You looking at me?
Yes, I'm looking at
You want
you.
me to start?
Yes, please.
Well, having just done the last one, this is remarkably similar. And everything I said with the last one applies to this one. We're not we're extending a non-conformity, we're not creating a new one. And we can grant a special permit if we're not detrimental substantially more than to the neighborhood. It's the exact same conclusion I have with last one. No problem, for me. Oops.
Ryan, would you like to say something?
You have similar comment to last time. I studied it ahead of time and no objection, no comments.
I could say ditto, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns about this or objections.
Any pushback from the neighbors?
No, we asked him ahead of time, yeah.
Yeah, I like the hand-drawn plans, those look good.
Okay.
I think my only question is that the height of this, I don't see anywhere on the plans, is this,
It's going to be the same height because we have a window over the existing porch that we're not gonna remove, so we're gonna keep the same roof line, just go back. It's a 1 story, it's never gonna be a 2
It's a
story.
shed roof that comes off the side.
yes, I saw it, I totally know, but I just wanted to make sure we're not changing the dimensions or
No.
anything in any other directions. Okay, thank you. I will open this to public comment. Hearing none, I will close the public comment portion. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, but I don't have the.
Oh, does anyone have any
condition
other
script.
comments?
I gave you a
Here, just a second.
Thanks.
There you go.
All right, I move to approve this special permit application of Rhonda and Robert Holt for 46 Fairview Avenue, number 21-16, to construct a one-story addition with a non-conforming side yard setback along the existing non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot on the property located at 46 Fairview Avenue, and that a special permit be granted to allow the construction as shown on the plot plan. I printed it out and it's cut off. On the plot plan by Edward J. Farrell, that's dated October 4th, 2021. And the drawings, which are not identified in any way, but the drawings that accompany the application.
Second.
Hold on, I'm not quite done, sorry. The special permit is subject to the following conditions. Number one, the petitioner shall submit to the building inspector a certified plot plan of proposed construction and proposed foundation plans prior to the issuance of a foundation permit for the work. Two, the petitioner's final construction plans for the new structure shall be submitted to the building inspector along with the as-built foundation plans prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, as-built plans showing the completed construction shall be submitted to the building inspector immediately after the work is completed and prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Okay, and voting on this will be Cy, Brian, myself, Cindy, and Patrick. And vote now.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Alright. That would be 5-0-0.
And I've these down to Hillary now.
Thank you. You can take that if you like.
Thank you so much.
No.
Thank you.
Cruising.
Oh yeah. Wish the PDC went this fast.
Yeah, you have one.
Yes.
Next on our agenda is a variance. Just pulling this up. Okay. Next on our agenda is case 21-17, 470 Main Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing in the Select Board Meeting Room at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, on Thursday, December 16th, 2021, at 7 p.m. on the application of Barlow Signs pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 10, for a variance under Reading zoning bylaws Section 4.5.2, 7.4, and 8.5.3, as may be determined by the zoning board to install 2 additional wall signs where one is permitted and extending and existing on the property located at 470 Main Street, Assessors Map 17, Lot 34 in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there's an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified as were the following: Select Board, Police Department, Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, members and associate members of the Board of Appeals, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, CPDC, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, North Reading, Woburn, Linfield, Stoneham, and Wilmington. Testimony given before this board is taken under oath, so if you think you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The response is, I do.
I do. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Courier from Barlow Signs, here representing Metro Credit Union, located at 470 Main Street. So as you mentioned, tonight we're seeking relief for 2 additional wall signs. So this location is very unique. As many of you probably know, you've been by the location. You can access this location from 2 different roads. So the first item here is item C. This sign has been designed to fit within the specs of the design review feedback that we previously went through for the sign on the front of the facade. This sign has been strategically placed to capture traffic coming down Green Street. There's an immediate one-way to enter into this property, which you can see right here. With clients coming from all around, this can cause for some either some fender benders or some accidents because as you approach this location, you guys are all familiar with how busy it is in this area. You cannot see the signs on the front or the blade until you are almost past that entryway. So the reasoning for this sign to have this here on the side, again, to blend in with the architecture and fit with the scale of the building. Remember, one thing is safety. We want to make sure that our guests get there safely without harming anybody else in the process. So if we move down to the next item, which is item F. So this is located on Ash Street, which is on the back side. This is the only identification on the back side of this bank. With respect to the residences on the back side there, we decided to go with no illumination. So the sign's not going to have any illumination, so we wanted to be respectful, obviously, of the code since we're asking for 2 additional signs. We wanted to try to be as respectful as we could. We've had no illumination, so the residents don't have any distractions from there. And this sign will be replacing a similar sign that was there previously for TD Bank. So to wrap it up, we wanted to provide enough signage to help the wayfinding public get to this location safely. These signs in no way will diminish any of the surrounding properties. And again, like I mentioned, fit within the architecture and scale of the buildings. Metro Credit Union is very excited to be part of this area. We saw their signs up now. I think they're very clean, very elegant. They have a very nice look. So I'd like to finish up by saying thank you and close my case. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Thank you. Brett?
Yeah, I don't have much again. 2 permits have been issued for 2 signs. I believe they've already been installed and they're just seeking relief for an additional two wall signs. That's about it.
How do the total number of signs that would be up then, how does that compare to what TD Bank had?
I'm not 100% sure, but I know TD Bank had one on the back, they had the blade, and then they had the front facade sign. I know there was nothing on the side elevation. So we chose to add that in to help the success.
Okay.
So one additional.
The one sign that is to be illuminated, like what is that facing? Is that facing Green
No.
Street, or is that, I guess the only concern that I thought would be like light pollution into like, somebody's house or residence, but
Nope, so that, so if you go, can you just go back up to the previous item, please?
that was item C was the illuminated sign, right?
Correct, yep. So as you're coming down Green Street, the building directly to your right is a business. So there'll be no pollution into their wall, into their windows or anything. We went with halo illumination just like the front, so there's no distractions to any motorist passing by. Just a very clean, nice look. I have a photo of that sign if you guys haven't seen it at night, if you'd like.
Sure.
Isn't that building really the right accommodation business residence?
I mean, I'm not familiar if there's anything upstairs. I know that, just off of some quick research, that it was just a business, so.
Okay. Let me double check to be sure I don't.
I swung by the site beforehand, so
Okay.
photos here.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I was thinking one more house down.
I saw this earlier.
There's no light coming out of the face.
This is actual item C, or this is on the other side of
This
it?
is on the front,
Yep.
facing,
Yep.
I believe it's Green Street,
And you're
Main Street, yeah.
And you're looking to mimic that on,
Yes, on the side.
got it.
So very subtle light, it's not too crazy.
That's the existing blade sign you're talking about too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
And how does the side and rear signs compare in size to that one that you have in the front?
I believe the one on the side is a little bit smaller. I don't have the dimensions in front of me for the front one. I apologize for that. And then the one on the back elevation is, can you go to item F for me? I believe that was the same size as the front one. I'm sorry, I didn't grab this.
It looks like it's 10'10" wide by 3'6" tall. The other one's 11'4" by 3. I'm not sure what the existing is.
Yeah, the existing is 11 feet 4.5 inches by 3 feet, or 34 square feet.
The one on the front elevation?
Yep.
So it's the exact same size.
So I personally have a bit of a issue with the double, based on our zoning. You are occupying the residence or the business, there's no additional occupants. So per the bylaws, you have the signs that you've been permitted, and adding this one just adjacent to it is I think exactly the same size, I think is a little bit not as required, but I think the rear signage is very important to your business. So that's my personal, I'd like to hear what the rest of the board says, but it's kind of covered a little bit by the house when you approach from this direction, so I find that the benefit isn't outweighing the going against our current bylaws, because this is for a variance. So this will stick with the property as it changes hands throughout its life. So we have a list, sorry, I gotta find I just haven't lost it, oh, there it is. So there are 4 items that we have to clear. It's a very high barrier to get a variance. So, so that, you describe the circumstances related to the soil conditions, shape, and topography, which especially affect your land structure. So you have frontage basically on 2 sides. That is, I understand that. I think you have cleared that with the back sign, but I don't think with the side sign. I don't think that clears that criteria for myself. And so we can check off part of number 1. Number 2, that the limitation doesn't speak, so describe how the literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning ordinance relating to the circumstances, especially affecting the land structure in question, would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner. I see that your rear sign would, if you weren't able to have that, it would be detrimental to your business and to the neighborhood. People would get lost. Dunkin' Donuts next door has a sign in the back, like, I understand that, but the side one still, I don't think, clears barrier 2. So, do you see, so that's where I'm headed with that one. Does anyone else have any comments?
I mean, I guess, so I think you described a specific scenario, like coming off of Green Street, you're not able to see the blade sign. But it looks like from the photo, like the blade sign is on the far left of the facade. Could you accomplish like the similar effect by maybe at like the right side of the facade? I think it would be more visible from that side of the street as you're coming down,
Meeting another blade sign.
moving the existing one.
I'm not sure if that's I don't know if that's an option, if that's what the client was intending. I know that they were using the existing structure that was there, so that's why they put it in that location.
Okay.
We were looking at putting a blade sign on this side instead of the side elevation, but we thought that it might clutter up the front too much. So that's why we decided to go with this one. And I do understand your comments about it being on the side. It's not really a per se a gain, but you also have to worry about traffic coming and entering for that side entrance there. That's the only way to enter off that one road. And as you progress by, I know someone made mention about you can't really see it because of the building beforehand, but you can see that side elevation before you can see Metro Credit Union on the front of the building. So it does help people get into that building there, into that first entrance.
Isn't Green Street one way going north?
I believe so.
Yes.
So that is one way going the other way, so you will already be able to see
Did
the
I
front.
misspeak on a road then?
And so
Or was I?
I live on Green Street, that's how I walk to the train station, so I've
I'm
got
sorry, Main
pretty
Street.
good-
Main Street, not
okay,
Green Street.
Okay,
As you're coming down Main Street from Green Street.
okay.
I apologize, that's what the confusion is for then. So as you're coming off of Green Street down Main Street, you have that first building here. And you can't see the front elevations right here, the front sign. So having that sign here is gonna help motorists turn in. This is where their main entryway is, and this is a one-way out. So it's in and then out, but if you get to this point, you've already passed that, so that's where it could cause issues with potential accidents or people getting frustrated with that location. I'm not sure what happened to TD Bank previously, but maybe that was one of the reasons. I mean, I can't speak 100% to that because I don't know why they did close, but it could be.
Well, I can speak for personal experience here now that you've described it that way. I recall that I did exactly that once, trying to get into TD Bank and missed the turn because I didn't know I was there already.
Yeah. And I know the biggest thing is like everybody's following their GPS and stuff, but that's a distraction in that area in itself. I mean, I used my GPS to get down in that area and I couldn't even look at it because there was so much extra stuff going on that you didn't pay attention to. So I just think that sign is definitely going to be a positive gain to this building, not just for, I know you mentioned about now and in the future too. I think that it will be helpful for future businesses, so accidents and stuff don't happen there.
Do you think that like wayfinding benefit could still be accomplished, but with a smaller size sign?
Yeah, I'm sure that could be the case if the size is the only thing that is holding anything up here, then I mean I'm sure that we could work with something.
Yes, please.
Question for Brett.
Yes, sir.
They want to put 2 new signs in.
Correct.
Have to.
If you eliminated one of those signs, would they do it without coming here?
We talked about this earlier, I think that was a CPD decision.
It was, and
Because I thought the bylaws said that you could have 2 wall-mounted per business,
Correct.
wall-mounted.
so I
But they
believe
have,
that
but they already
does,
It's already 2, right?
yes, they have a projecting blade and a wall, but I believe the table, when it refers to 2 per business, when you go up to special regulations of business B, I believe it specially mentions multi-tenant buildings that are allowed multiple wall signs and not single-tenant buildings.
Yes, in the special regulations, it says a lot or a building which contains more than one business may be granted a certificate of appropriateness for more than one sign and maximum of the following signs. Business occupying the ground floor is allowed 2 signs if one sign is a wall-mounted sign and the second one is projecting blade sign.
That's what I thought, but I just want to get a clarification, confirm what I thought. as Hillary has pointed out, getting a variance is probably one of the most difficult things to get from any zoning board of appeals in any town. It is tough because the 4 criteria that have to be met have to be clearly met. And what I've seen in the submittal thus far is that you have not met clearly, for me anyway, the variance criteria, particularly number 2, which is hardship. And it's a little weak on a couple of the others too. When I looked at the thing, when I drove by it several times, around and back, through the portals and everything, and coming down Main Street, it's very easy for me to see that it's a Metro Bank because of the front sign, and you got a projecting sign. And even coming from the north down, with that Metro sign on the side, north side of the building in the front, with that projecting sign, my view is you don't even need that, okay? I mean, it looks nicer and it lights up at night, but 2 front ones are lit up at night as well. The access to the tellers is pretty clearly identified on the street. It's got one way.
Yeah, it's one way.
Yeah, okay. And it's got do not enter on the other side of the building. So it's very clear where you have to go into the building. The only thing that I'm a little sympathetic with would be coming from the back and trying to understand if it's a bank, but if you drive by the front and you're not sure, you clearly know that probably around the back. So I don't think the case has been made for a variance. That's my opinion, and particularly the hardship. You have not made a case for hardship at all. You speak of safety, and I can understand a safety issue better than I can a hardship. But a hardship to me is not justified in this particular case. So that's my hang-up on
And
granting a
having no
variance.
identification on the back side of that building, that
Huh?
wasn't, and having no identification on the back side of that building off of the second road, that wouldn't be considered as a hardship?
I don't think so. Not the way I view the definition of in the variance criteria.
No, I don't agree with Cy. I think that the case has been made. I think it's on the border, but I think it's been made.
Which part? All parts?
Definitely for the back sign, but I would say for the side sign too. I do think that, if the size of the side sign could be limited, it might be better. But I actually think I am okay with it as presented, even.
The size of the sign doesn't change
No,
the fact that it's a sign.
Yeah, oh, I understand that, I understand.
right. But there is even if there is a allowable sign for the primary is 2 square feet per linear foot of the portion of the wall of the building occupied with establishment. Signage for the, keep going, but it sounds like, identification sign, it sounds like that the bylaws are trying to say if the secondary sign is smaller, but I can't quite, it feels like they're trying to say that, but it doesn't quite say that. So I don't wanna,
What are you reading?
in that special regulation, it talks about, the business occupying the ground floor, it's 8.5.3. It does feel like that when I'm reading the regulations.
Well, yeah, because you're reading the secondary sign area shall not exceed half of the primary sign.
Right, That's what,
Yeah, that's where you're getting at.
so that's. It's hard because the town has voted on these, our citizens have written these, you know, we voted on them. These are our bylaws. So the variance criteria, you know, you have to nail it in order for us to take a double look at, you know, what our citizens want for their town. And in the past, we've had very contentious discussions, especially on signage, so it's a hard one in Reading especially. So that's why I find it a hardship for your business and for the people of that occupy your you're the tenant of this building. I think it is a hardship that you aren't able to have a signage on the back. That's my opinion. I think it's terrible facade on the back. There's nothing to identify what it is. People do approach it from the back. It is, you know, that is one way to access it. So in my opinion, I think the second sign could be acceptable, but I'm not in favor of the side sign. Based on your arguments and the made with the buttons.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And like, again, without going too many specifics, it does seem like you could do, if like that was a serious concern, you could move the projection sign to that part of it. It's effectively a side sign on that end of the building. And you get the similar signaling to go at that front entrance. So yeah, I think like the back entrance makes sense to me, I think. I think there's enough, I think you could do other things to accomplish the same goal, to get the visibility for the front entrance.
Okay, I need to open it to public comment, I believe. Do we need to talk? Are there any more comments from the board? Anyone? Patrick, do you have any?
When we were talking about the special regulations, does it require that there's more than one business?
That's what it says.
Yeah. And so this lot has more than one business on it, or no, okay.
That's why we're
That's-
asking for the variance.
Yeah.
One just wanted to make sure.
It's so unique.
Yeah.
was multiple, you have to.
Okay.
It's very different from most other applications for someone doing this in a different location.
So is there a way to split up this to vote on
I don't know.
one side and not both sides, or?
That's what I was gonna ask, typically in the past, I've seen that happen.
Do you know the total area of this side on the rear?
Well, so that's another question. Are we doing the total area of the backer sign or of the printed sign?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
So there's a backer to the sign,
Right,
The white,
correct? The white. And there is the,
it would
lettering.
be everything.
it's the whole thing, isn't it?
Yep.
At the back here, I think,
Yeah.
which is
Yep.
a
Including the
larger area.
It looks like it's about 30 square feet or so, probably more, 10 by 10.
Calls out 37 and some change.
So if the board wants to keep it to half the size of the primary, this too would have to come down. If you
right, and the
don't,
backer could get, you know, there's a lot of ways that can be accomplished, but it would be the backer and the,
if you're okay with the size, that's,
I'm not okay with the size. I think it's enormous.
And another thing with the backer too, that's covering up those penetrations and stuff from the existing sign that was there. So that's a method why we do that, and then with the halo illumination too, it's a way for it to come out better.
But this doesn't have illumination because it's the
Oh, I'm
back.
sorry, yeah, I apologize, I misspoke.
So, what are our options and what are his options?
Yeah, I'm
sorry, I'm new to
no,
this,
that's
so
okay. I think
I know Sai would know what to say, but I don't.
So if you wanted to move forward with the vote, you could, I think, just do the one sign and condition the size restraint that new specifications be submitted to me for review on a certain size. FYI, for the applicant, you can move forward with the vote. You do need a supermajority vote, 4 out of 5 for a variance for it to be approved. You could elect to continue with the application to submit revised drawings, make it more clear. Or you could withdraw without prejudice.
Okay, so for item F, if you guys are putting a constraint on it for size, then that would be essentially the same as doing a continuance, but it wouldn't have to come back, so it would take less time to go through, correct?
If the board did vote
If they
the
did.
affirmative on even of size restraint.
So can we discuss the size that we would accept, or is that like,
Yeah, no, go
yeah,
for it.
do we wanna talk about the size of this?
By accepting a change in size, you are basically acknowledging that you would be accepting and approving a variance.
Would we, or would we
No,
be
necessarily.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. I'm looking for advice here.
I think the board can discuss if there is an appropriate size or not.
I'm going back to compliance with the bylaws.
This
Does the size,
this
does the
sign
size of the
exists, right?
sign,
Correct.
excuse
The
me,
TD sign is no
Yeah.
longer
Also-
there.
The TD sign, this was in this location, you could see that it did have a backer panel in this area as well.
But I,
But they didn't have a variance for that because it wasn't
no, I
an
don't know
excessive sign, right?
what that approval was. They had the 3 signs when they were allowed the wall and projecting blade sign, and however that happened, it happened, but
do you have any idea when that happened?
I don't. When
You're saying the
moved-
TD Bank had what they want to do here? They had that?
There's the pictures right there.
They had this rear sign,
Well, they had the
yes,
one on the rear side.
and they had a front, and they had a blade sign. So that was 3 signs where they were allowed a total of 2, the wall sign and the projecting. Somebody might have interpreted the bylaw differently at the time, somebody might have, or they just did it, or whatever happened, but they did have 3 signs, yes.
They weren't granted a variance for it that
No,
we know of that
not a
that is
variance,
still
no.
there now.
No, that's true.
I wonder if that was back in the time when the bylaws didn't read the way they did.
Might have been. Might have been, or somebody interpreted the special regulations differently.
But to you, Brett, no matter what the size of the signs are, it's still a variance.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, according to the bylaws, he's asking for extra. It's not a special permit or
There's already 2 permanent signs on the building currently.
Say that again?
There's already 2 permanent, they already got permitted for 2 signs. So they have the one on the front and then they have the protection sign.
Yeah, they have permit to do that.
Correct, those are already done, yep.
Those are already
Those have been
done,
permitted by
yeah.
right.
That's complies,
Correct, yep.
didn't require the
Nope,
board.
those are by right, yep.
I don't know,
don't either.
but the supermajority means 5-0,
4-0.
4.
At least 4.
at least 4, okay.
So it's really up to you how you want to proceed, because if you proceed, then you're taking a bit of a gamble as to how we're gonna vote.
Exactly, and to me, it kind of seems like the one on the side, the majority of you are not in favor of that. But for this item here, I feel that a majority of you are. But I did hear a bunch of communication about sizing and whatnot. Is there any feedback that I can get on that? Like the condition that would be in play? I mean, we're replacing existing with existing. I mean, mean,
Right.
it's not like we're not making it larger. The only thing that's different is the color of the background is different because that's their brand color. The one that for TD was blended in with that, with the background. If that's an option, if you'd rather have us, condition would be to paint the background so it blends in better. I don't think that would be an issue. But that is the reasoning why that backer is white.
Is there any way we can determine when that TD thing was done? The records?
If there's no permits or anything for it, probably not. I don't know how.
There must be a record of it somewhere.
Only if they came through the town
Yeah,
to
unless
get
it's-
it.
I mean, we can check for what sign permit or building permit was granted for them.
I assume it
I mean,
wasn't-
I'm sympathetic to
I
what
assume it wasn't Barlow sign that put that TD Bank sign up.
No. No.
I mean,
Just jot
I'm
that down.
sympathetic to your cause in the sense that TD had what you were asking for. That
Yeah,
that does
understand.
bother me.
Yeah.
Because if this bylaw issue was in existence at that time, I can't believe it would have happened. So that's why I'm interested in what happened, and maybe, you know, is there even any thought that
So
if that was
the
done way back when,
So
it kind of makes this kind of a grandfather situation or something like that?
Andrew, did you
I
find
don't
something
know.
just now?
The certificate of appropriateness for TD Bank did approve to maintain an existing wall sign on the west building facade facing the parking lot and drive-through aisle, in addition to proposing one new wall sign on the north building facade. Okay, there's a few alternatives here.
And when was that?
I think it said 2017.
2017, or alternatively, one new wall sign on the east or north. Phew. Okay, that was a lot.
If it was that recent,
Well, they're talking about keeping the existing sign that what we're calling the back sign now, and they were asking for a different new one.
Just essentially changing the brand that was there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so.
which
It was
is what
TD
you're
with-
doing,
kind
sorry?
of.
which is
Yeah.
kind of what you're doing.
Yes, yep. So I know with TD, the company that runs all their signs is a big company out west. They use a lot of local companies like us to do their installations and their removals when they close. And corporate standards, they need to have the signs down the day that they close. Like they can't have up anything else. So that's why you don't see any signs up there any longer. And rather than putting bags over it or something similar, they opt to have us or another local company come in and remove them. So that's the reason why they're not there. But if this is showing that even the previous owner to them had something similar, we were just trying to be respectful to it.
so if that was done in 2017, I would believe that this bylaw, as it currently reads, was in existence at that time.
Not
With
each,
regard to these
the
sections.
whole thing
Can
is.
you tell
Pronounces
that from the
November
top, can you tell
2019.
that
Yeah,
from
mine
the
says that as
appendix?
well.
Do you believe the
Is that
sign
We-
bylaw was?
You don't, like, each section gets approved at different times
Times. You'd have to
during
look at
town
the-
meeting,
Right.
so
History of each one.
Yeah, like an amendment.
There would be a signage modification of some kind, you could look that up.
right. But they're looking at the date of the zoning, their zoning packet, and that wouldn't say.
So it is tough to tell which signs are actually approved in this certificate because it does give them two options.
What were the two options?
It was to maintain the existing wall sign on the west, which is your rear facade, and a sign on the east or north building facade. So your front there, your same sign that you're looking for, actually north facade here.
Hmm.
Or alternatively, one new wall sign on the east or north facade and the blade sign, which is I think what they had, so.
So it's basically the back or the sign?
Back or the side, because there is a junction box on the outside, so at some time, maybe not with TD, but someone previously had a sign there. That was
They
something
did,
that I went by
yes.
today, because there was a junction box there, which means there is power there, so it kind of sounds like it was either the side or the back, or the two fronts, and then they had to choose which, the back or the side.
Yes.
CPDC is the one who did this last time?
Yep. And CPDC approved the existing signs right now as well, that Main Street facade and blade sign.
Okay, but they haven't seen these two.
No.
Would it come before them?
It would go.
What's the next step?
Nope.
So,
These signs require variance and the zoning board has control over that, so.
because there is something, like you have the certificate of appropriateness, there is some talk of that. Maybe for the next one.
Yeah, I think that's-
TD have required a variance?
No, not that I could find.
What exactly is it?
The certificate of appropriateness is virtually a CPDC decision or staff decision on
Right.
a few things, signage, a few other small items.
But if all the conditions were the same, we were looking at what we were looking at here, they were looking at then, and we had the same zoning bylaw requirements. Why was it handled differently?
I think interpretations change through staff. I think things happen and slide through, get through, or don't get through at certain times, so.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, when it says or alternatively one wall sign on the east and a blade sign, that's what they had to me, was the east wall sign and a blade sign, and however the rear got there, I don't know.
Oh, you mentioned that it was the blade sign and the facade sign on the front, and then there was an option to do.
There was an option for the west and the east. Or the east and the blade, so I don't know which one was chosen, this one, this decision does not make it clear, you know, so.
So I think we're back to what you wanna do.
which is,
And you mentioned this can be split.
I think we could,
Because if not, you said the option was continuation, then we could work through you, I would assume. I don't know who Jen works with.
if you continued, you would just continue to a later hearing date and submit revised drawings so that it's more clear for the board to act on. I think that actually might be preferred,
I
but
think, yes.
Okay, so can we,
I think we would like to see it represented in a, with a little bit more research on the town's part.
Mhm.
So that we can make a more informed decision
Yeah, I'd like to.
and understand what was and what can be
Yeah, I agree with that.
without, the problem with the variance is that it carries through forever. So, it puts a very high bar on us as well,
Too
so.
bad they didn't get a variance with that one.
Here,
baby.
I do 1 to 2 variances a week, so I totally understand, so.
So,
I need to try to understand how it was handled differently than some of us.
right,
I
right, and we need to find
need to
out.
try to find that out.
That's why I'm so,
See if I
that's
can
why
do
I'm
okay.
approaching
Yep.
this way I am, because it does seem like there's a bunch of gray areas, and I don't wanna put our client in a bad situation if all of the ducks and stuff aren't in a line. So I wanna make sure that all of the research is done, and I wanna be able to take your consideration to either modify or better help the drawings. So I've heard that the side elevation, it's kind of a toss-up, so would you guys be looking for either something smaller on that, less of that size?
I think we do need to find out what this is
Okay.
that Andrew is pulling up and what we're discussing. and
Okay.
how it happened. So I do think there needs to be some more research on the town, on Andrew's part, and I'm sorry. Andrew,
Yes,
making you do more work.
that's fine.
Just offering you up.
So I think that needs to be
I'm on vacation next week there, so.
before we can make, any long-term decisions on this property. And your client can be better informed. So I think it's best if you are going to continue this, to work with Andrew and your team. To come up with
Yes,
something
we
that
would
works.
like to do that. We would like to continue. I
Okay.
think that's the best for all of us.
So, here you already have something?
It's gonna take me a minute to read through this, but.
They were seeking a variance.
So a variance to install 2 wall signs in front of the property, bank north. West. Sign B, drive-through clearance would remain the same as the existing sign. Petitioner sign. Sign A. Sign B is the drive-through sign.
I think they're talking about different ones.
That's just,
They're referring to 6.3
Yeah, this was
something.
back before the sign.
Those were different bylaws than what we have now.
It
was
was.
the change log of the bylaws at the end, it says the sign regulations were changed in 2016, this is 2015, so.
Yep.
Is there drawings in there? Because you said this was a variance document?
Is so this is sign A, I believe.
Black and white.
It's just scanned in that way.
It's on the side facing Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, that's the southerly side.
And this is sign B.
So that was approved then?
Yeah, I don't know that it was, at the time at the bylaws that this application came in, it did say that the board then interpreted as no action needed by the board. Again, different bylaw sections, different sign bylaw it looked like.
So they didn't issue a variance for that sign because they didn't need to.
They did not, no. With regard to sign B, the board observed that the existing sign was in place before the adoption and the proposed change in color does not require any action.
Can you go back down to the drawings? I want to see if there was any elevations in that packet. Drive through, so it's just those 3, okay.
And does it state the size?
20.3 square feet.
And that's just the letters it says, right?
Yep.
Letter area is 20 point, and we were calculating it off of the back, right?
Right.
So that's why it looks larger on our drawings. Is there a way that we could get that document? Is that on a?
Yeah.
Now my curiosity takes me all the way back to Ipswich Bank. What was going on there? With signage.
Well, so more information, but I think the same result, right? Like continuance and
Yes, yeah, until we can find more.
Just
understand more
research this
about
a
the
little
history.
better.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be best for
Make
all
sure
of
we're
us.
doing things.
Right.
Because like you mentioned, a variance lasts forever.
So Andrew, we have to continue this to a date certain.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
And what does our next,
January 6th, I know that might be
what
tight
does it
for you.
look like?
What was that?
What does it look like?
We just are looking to print 2 notices in the next week for that date, so it has a slot or 2 open.
Okay, so that gives you not much time, like, basically a half a week and another half a week between Christmas
And you
and
have,
the New Year?
and you guys run one meeting a month, is that what it is?
No.
Two. So we have January 6th, which is what I'm talking about. Our next one is in just, you have like not much time
Yeah.
with the holidays.
Is this something that Jen and
So-
our permit manager can reach out to you and confirm, or does it have to be chosen tonight?
We should choose it tonight and then we can,
Could always be
Change
changed.
it.
You can always push it out, okay. So then we'll
So-
go with the first date and then we'll push it out.
so we
if-
have the
if-
20th is our next,
Oh, okay, so if the 20th is the next meeting, then yes,
January 20th would be the second one.
the second one. But if we choose the 6th and we don't get everything done in time, then we can push it out to the 20th. Okay, so let's do that. We'll do the first one.
Is that okay? Because they're printing the notices, right? So
Yep.
you have time to print that in the notice.
There would be no print of notice for this application to
Okay.
continue.
So, somebody wanna make a motion to continue it, or do we have to do
I
that?
make a motion to accept the petitioner's request for continuation to January 6, 2022,
7 p.m.
At 7 p.m.
at 7 p.m.
I will second that motion.
And do we all vote? Or how many people?
Yep, choose your 5.
Okay,
Choose your
5 of us will vote, so I guess this was yours.
Yep.
So Andrew, Cy, Ryan, myself and Cindy are voting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. Is there a way that you can, you've been working with Jen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll let her know to send you an email to see if there's documents.
Yep.
Anything else that you find on
Yep.
this.
Yeah, I think I sent her a lot of them already, but I can resend anything.
Okay. All right, awesome, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're gonna be able to send us that? We can look at that.
Yeah, I can send it to everybody. I can do that to the board as well.
Do you see all the time? Oh, yeah, except
All the approvals. and
All right, we are now at case number 21-19, which is 136 Haven Street. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing in the select board's meeting room, took me 4 times now, at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, on Thursday, December 16th at 2021 at 7 p.m. on the application of Haven Street PO LLC pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 10, for a variance under Reading zoning bylaws, Section 4.5.2, 7.4, 8.5.3, and 8.6, or an interpretation on the requirements as they may be determined by the zoning board to install an additional freestanding sign where one is permitted and existing on the property located at 136 Haven Street, Assessors Map 16, Lot 30 in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there is an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified, as were the following: Select Board, Police Department, Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, members and associate members of the Board of Appeals, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, and CPDC, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, North Reading, Woburn, Linfield, Stoneham, and Wilmington. Testimony given before this board is taken under oath, so if you think you may want to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The response is I do. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm Attorney Josh Latham here tonight on behalf of Haven Street PO LLC. They are a commercial tenant for Unit 2 at the Postmark Condominium Project. If I may, I just had put together a little quick packet, not looking to distract you at all as we proceed tonight, but just something that might be useful for reference, for visuals, and I've also laid out our legal arguments as to why we believe variance would be appropriate. If I may approach, thank you.
Thank you.
You. Great, so proceed with the application, really this case is relative to signage. And what I would say is almost that we have an archaic aspect of our zoning. We've passed this 40R district zoning bylaw that allows us to do mixed use. It has very specific design guidelines. And yet we also have the underlying Business B zoning district bylaws. And then we have the signage bylaws. And really the reason we're here tonight is an interplay of these three sections of the zoning bylaws. To give you a little bit of a history of this project, as you probably all know, this was the post office in town. It was built in 1917. It operated as the post office in Reading right until a couple of years ago. And then a couple of years ago, the federal government decided to dispose of the property. And at that time, the developer purchased it and was able to get a 40R approval to build 3 commercial units and 50 residential units. There is a historic preservation restriction imposed on the original structure. The original structure is exactly what you would think it would be. And if you look within the packet I gave you and really the information we submitted with the application, there's a really good set of pictures of showing how that original structure is set within the additions and the residential addition behind. So the historic structure was 1917. There was a 1960s addition as you're facing it to the right, and then there was a recent 2018 addition to the left. The 3 commercial uses are all within the frontage along Haven Street. So as you're looking at it, the right side 1960s addition is DiBiase Companies. The 2018 addition to the left, and I can actually lean over here and point to these. This is the 1960s edition. This is the 2018 edition. My client is within the original 1917 structure. So he purchased the unit. The intent is to put a restaurant in this space. They did secure a liquor license earlier this year. The name of the restaurant is the Common District Meeting House. They are experienced restaurateurs. They currently have a restaurant in Stoneham. They have a lot of ties to the Reading community. And their intent is to open in the early spring. Well, they decided to proceed on a master signage plan where all 3 business owners came together and said, let's go ahead to CPDC and get a general signage approval for what we can do for this site. As we proceeded, Andrew was good to point out, this is not a problem. It's on the 1960s edition. It's a wall sign. It faces out very cleanly. This space is not a problem because it's also has this ability to face out on an addition that has no restriction. This space is subject to a historic preservation restriction with the federal government, the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and under local inventory requirements. That preservation restriction is included in what I provided to you tonight. There's a deed. It is actually attached as Exhibit B to the deed, saying that there shall be no alterations to the historical facade of this structure without the requirement that we go to Historical Commission, Massachusetts level, and get certain approvals, and they can deny it. So for that very reason, we can't build an as-of-right sign on our wall. We would have to go and actually get state-level approvals, if not higher, at a federal level. At the same time, we don't think a wall sign is really the best placement for this property. If you look at it, for us to put a wall sign, it would have an absolute negative impact on the historical facade. As you may all know, that there is already the existing Reading Post Office, the U.S. Post Office engraved lettering across the top here. All of this was beautifully restored as part of the redevelopment. For us to go in and put a wall sign would necessarily require that we in some way have to put marketing materials on the historic facade. So what my clients proposed to do is instead place a nice freestanding wall sign here within this garden mulch bin. The wall sign is as a design is within the packet. It's a wooden sign. It is carved letters, painted. It's nothing plastic or artificial with granite posts. He's trying to honor the historical nature of the property. Well, as he went forward with what he thought was a great sign, we realized, wait a minute. Within the Business B district, you can have 1 freestanding sign per lot. That is the exact language of the signage bylaw, Section 8. Well, the residences have what would be deemed a freestanding sign. Andrew, is it possible to go back to the overall kind of bird's eye view?
Yep.
Thank you. So the residents intentionally are meant to differentiate from the commercial front here on Haven. Everything for residential is supposed to be residential access off of Sanborn, really to distinguish the commercial from the residential uses. Their sign is right here. It's a freestanding sign that simply says postmark. It's meant to say, hey, if you're coming to visit the residences, this is how you get in. That freestanding sign is why we have to be here tonight. Because the district says you can only have one. We can't have one unless we get a variance that allows us to say that, look, this would be a hardship for my client. There are unusual aspects of this property that it would be unreasonable to say a strict application of the zoning bylaws is fair in this situation. So to that point, I'll run quickly through those three criteria. The first is, obviously it's a historic property with a historic preservation. It wasn't a new construction that we've self-created this hardship. In fact, instead of really causing any problems, we're actually preserving what is the unique nature of this building. If you look at the bylaw criteria and the statutory criteria, it's not just the lot, it's the buildings, the structures, the character of the structures, and that's really our basis as to why there's an unusual situation. On top of that, the Business B district never envisioned the concept of a project like this, where you have a historic building converted to commercial use and then the addition of 50 residential units behind it that would have a directional marker for the location of the residential entrance, preventing you from then having a freestanding sign for the businesses on the main frontage. So really, I think that whole combination does establish that this is a unique situation. The second piece is, well, what is the hardship? Well, the hardship is if he wanted to do an as-of-right sign under Reading zoning, he can't. He has to go to a state level of approval to get a wall sign that everybody else in this district could otherwise do as of right. So to avoid having to go all the way to a state level and all the money and time that includes, a freestanding wall sign avoids that issue. And then the third criteria is it would not have any negative impact on the district or the neighborhood generally. In fact, it won't have any negative impact. It'll actually be beneficial to the neighborhood. Again, we preserve that beautiful historic facade. We're simply putting in a freestanding sign, which is actually more appropriate for the site. One last piece is you'll notice that the building kind of careens away from the frontage as you're coming down Haven Street, which is a one-way street. So if you're coming down and he has wall signs pointing out this way, nobody coming down the street is going to see that until they are almost really parallel to it. That's really not ideal for any business that wants to have viability within our downtown. Another piece is anybody coming down is really not going to visually see both freestanding signs at the same time. They are truly separated with this location on Sanborn, which is truly a side street, and then this main frontage, the commercial frontage here on Haven Street. If you go through the district, as I know we all have, it wouldn't be something that's unreasonable for this area. Haven Street is our most vibrant commercial area in the downtown. It's walkable, it's a sign in a nice location, it's a nice proposal. And with that, we would say that we think this is an appropriate case for a variance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Really?
Yes, please.
Josh,
Yes.
nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
You say there are 3 commercial businesses. Could you just talk about each one and where they're located right there and what their signage is that goes with the
Absolutely.
building?
Absolutely. So the way the building is broken up is this is the original facade of the 1970s structure. This did not exist. My client is within this entire section here, the original piece. The main entrance is through the original post office
So
entrance.
to get into the restaurant, you're gonna go in through the main.
Exactly. You're going right where we used to always go to get to the post office boxes.
All right. So the restaurant is where inside the building?
Right, so as you come up these 2 staircases, you go in the main entrance. The restaurant is gonna have a little waiting area here with a host station, and then everything behind this is gonna be both a seating area. This will be outdoor dining, and then to the rear of the original footprint of the building is gonna be a bar.
So to the left side of the main entrance, that's gonna be part of the restaurant too?
Correct, so this piece here and then just the top here is gonna be for outdoor. This, underneath that area is gonna be classified realty, and they own that unit. That has its own entrance at the lower level, and that's entirely an addition.
Their sign is where?
Their sign is gonna be wall sign here, but then a blade sign along this frontage.
Okay, all right.
And then DiBiase companies, they have the office space along here, and they're gonna have signage just along this spot.
Do you know, are those signs that those businesses plan on putting up, are they gonna be similar in character or look at all to the sign that your client's proposing, or?
My client's is gonna be the most distinct from the others, and the reason is his is really trying to reach out to more of a historic character, and as a freestanding sign here. The DiBiase company's sign, their proposal is more just black letters, which is similar to what we have now just for the numbering that's on the site. And it's just gonna say DiBiase companies in black lettering against the brick background. That's likewise what Classified is doing along this frontage here, and then the blade sign is gonna be more of their logo. And if it gives the board any comfort, even with your approval tonight, that's not the end of it for us. We still do have to go to CPDC. We do have a master signage approval where CPDC has to say, yes, we agree with the placement of these signs, and a certificate of appropriateness where they have to say, we approve the design, the size, and the placement of this. So there is another level of review here as well.
Your business is only on the second floor.
So the public facing aspect is the second floor here with this area. There is storage underneath.
Is there any uplighting anticipated, like a light shining on the common district sign?
There is going to be, well, the intent, if CPDC says it's okay, is to have just a ground light facing up to it, just during business hours.
Sure.
And you were on the agenda for the Historic Commission yesterday, is that true?
We were, thank you for bringing that up. So we did appear before Historic Commission because when they saw that we'd submitted the master signage plan, they said, well, we'd like to weigh in on this. We actually had a great meeting with them last night. They were very appreciative we came in. They actually voted and said, let's send an email in support of this. We'd much rather have this freestanding sign than have you want to put something on the wall of this original facade. So they did send an email to Andrew in support of this application.
I intended to come last night, but it became a lot.
What's the existing freestanding sign like approximate size and shape?
For the
Yeah,
one down here?
yeah.
You know, I do have, if I could submit it, I have one
Okay.
copy.
Yeah, I was looking for it, I didn't see it in here, but
Yeah, it's,
I'm sure I walked by it, but I just can't picture it.
If I may approach, it's like it looks like right there. I have a couple of extras if anybody would like them.
That would be great.
it's on the Sandport Street.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
And are the other three business signs, not the magenta sign, but the other three that are listed, are those illuminated? Or
I believe they do have certain, I would say it's backlit lighting, but there is an element of lighting to them.
I only ask because this one is lit, so in your
Yes.
pictures.
And I will say, I know that we submitted renderings of this sign. The placement you see is more conceptual. It's going to be within the bed, subject to what CPDC approves, but the idea is more likely like 3 or 4 feet back, more centered within the garden. Size-wise, I think it's gonna, I mean, we're allowed to do somewhere up to 35, but we're gonna do much smaller than that. I think more like a 24 to 28 square feet.
I don't know what the condominium governance is, but I assume that Board of Trustees or whoever it
Yes.
is approving this
That's correct.
as well?
The trustees,
Okay.
we've submitted to them and they have given an approval.
So this elevation in Axon that you're showing here with the 7x7 7-inch granite posts and the 8 foot by 4 foot sign, it's still, so if we grant this variance,
Mhm.
the sign still needs to go through CPDC, and how would that, like, if it got bigger or smaller, how does that affect our vote?
Sure, so you can always have the ability to put conditions on any approval that you grant. One is that you can say that you condition that it has to obviously get CPDC certificate of appropriateness, and then number two, that it's no larger than what is depicted tonight. So that might work.
Because I do think the sign shape, I wouldn't want it to get too much bigger than that. Because that's what, I don't wanna approve something that it comes back at 35 square feet and like.
We could take the posture that we feel that our interpretation of the bylaws would allow CPTC to grant a special permit.
So it's an alternative argument that I have made within the filing. It's just a harder thing to say. And the reason is that I just don't think so much of this was envisioned as the bylaws were amended kind of more piecemeal over the years. It is a good segue though. The way the bylaws are written, the Business B district allows a special permit to be issued for a freestanding sign by CPDC.
Right.
Only when you get to the table does it then have this one little column that says one per lot. It's not really envisioned within anywhere of the text, but that one column is where we say, okay, well, what does that mean, the one per lot? Because, you know, technically this was 2 lots at one point in time.
That's right, this whole thing became one lot, but it came out of more than one lot.
Exactly, and now we technically have 53 separate legal distinct units. But so it's kind of a strange thing, it is
a strange thing, it's very, very unique.
Is the postmark sign on what was originally one of the other lots?
I believe it is, but I have to admit, I have not
Okay.
confirmed.
This is a very unique case.
Yeah, it is.
Very unique case.
Yeah,
I am very reluctant to come in on variances, and I'll tell you, this is one where I said, I don't think there's anything else I can do about a variance unless we talk about the special permit argument.
Yeah,
But it seems,
I was trying to, and I'm a lawyer myself, and I was trying to figure out what the legal argument was there, and I thought, well, that must be what it is.
Yeah.
And I admire your creativity. But I mean, no, you're right, because there is a sort of, it looks like you're there until you look at the table.
yeah,
It's
so,
like, oh,
what?
which one? And I think the answer to which one is that the variance would control. So that's, if there's a discrepancy, but I'll just go on with my comments. I mean, understanding, as we all do, that our standard is high to grant a variance, I do think that this is one where I would support variance, and I say that because it is a very, very unique property. I think there is some consideration to be given to the fact that it really was more than one lot originally, you know, so we're not looking at a situation where you're trying to cram a bunch of stuff onto one lot. You're cramming a bunch of stuff onto a lot of different parcels. And if without a variance, I don't know how you do have a sign unless you do go through the state process, and the state somehow does allow one on the building itself, which frankly I wouldn't want to see. Because I agree that what is proposed is actually much nicer for the neighborhood, and you know, just the look of it and everything in the historical context is much nicer than putting something on the building itself. I do not think that that there would be any detriment to the public or to anybody else from that, and I think that this is actually a case where a variance is in order.
I don't mind going after that because I actually have a similar opinion. I would approve or grant variance for the situation. The unique circumstances, the only thing that I'd add for what Cindy said is that what you actually said about the Residence B zoning could not have really been anticipated for this specific building use. substantial hardship. For that, I think, going up to the historical commission on a state or federal level, that counts as substantial hardship to me. I'm sure it's very time consuming and expensive for your client. Here, without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the bylaws, here we're helping to conserve the value of the land and the natural conditions for the historic site. Without substantial detriment to the public good here. We're not going to create additional traffic because it's kind of set back, and it's also supported by the historic commission, you said, the trustees as well in the condo. Without substantial detriment to the public good, it seems.
I was on the zoning board when we approved this. And there was much discussion about retaining historically the frontage of that Haven Street facing. It was, I don't think it was ever gonna go through without maintaining that frontage. And the other thing I think about is that any business who's in a building like that has a right to advertise, tell the world they're there. So that's the main clash here of what we're dealing with, okay? I think it's, if I've heard any case in my lifetime on this board, this has probably come the closest to a variance to approve that I've ever experienced. So it's, this is a very unique case.
It is.
Yeah, I guess I would also agree. It seems like the variance criteria is met. The sign seems in kind with keeping with the historical ideals. Perhaps a condition, no larger than would make sense in this case.
I would like to second that
Yeah,
part.
I would agree with that as
I
well.
agree with that. I mean, for your tenant, this is nicely done. What I'm concerned about is that, I want it to stay this size. I don't want it enormous. I don't want it to get tall and to block that frontage. The beautiful, we don't have a ton of historic buildings here. I mean, we do, but but at the
Well-preserved
same
historic
time,
buildings.
well done and maintained public historic buildings. So yes, I agree. I don't wanna see anything bigger, and I'm in support. I'm sorry, I stole your thunder. Do you have anything else to say?
No, that was it.
Okay, so I agree with the limit on the signage size, and
Would you want the sign to also remain as that, as it's been depicted, as that historic feel?
I don't mind if it changes the feel. Like, I'm not sold that this is the best, perfect, but I don't know their logos and things. So I like that it is historic looking, but I can't weigh in on your logos or any future tenants' logos, but I don't wanna see a sign that's bigger than this.
One other condition you might consider is to say that the freestanding sign needs to be within this garden bed as well,
Oh.
so you don't feel as though it might go somewhere else.
Thank you.
Yeah, located where.
Yeah, just trying to think of creatively so you don't,
Yes, agree.
I think it's good to always put these limitations so there's no confusion down the road.
Was any consideration given to a smaller size sign?
He has considered it, and
That's 4 feet by 8 feet, right?
yeah, so zoning is again interesting because it says you need either a special permit, unless you're a service station, you don't need a special permit, you can just do it. And it's like, okay, well, so it does allow us to go to 35. I think he's at 32 or less. He's actually thinking about going to 28. So he's still considering that. Meeting with Historic last night, we asked them to provide comments to CPDC as well. And I know one of their comments is that they would like to see it a little bit smaller. So I do anticipate we're gonna have more of this discussion in front of CPDC in the near future.
Because looking at it, it does look
It's big.
big
It
for
looks
that
big and
specific spot.
it's poorly placed, and it really, I think it's the function of, we hired the mechanical contractor to do the signage and said, we really need to have this sign shown roughly where it looks, and I think he plopped it in, and it was kind of like, okay, well, you can't really smith it much better at this point.
But it is an actual picture, you had somebody like mock it up and put it in there?
Yes, yep, so it was actually the signage
Thank
company,
you.
Boston Wraps, that did it.
That gets me to another piece of the puzzle there. If we're to grant a variance for a 4 by 8 foot sign,
Mhm.
but historical doesn't like it, maybe CPC doesn't like it,
Mm-hmm.
it should be 3 by 6, 2 by 4, or 3 by 5, I don't know. Where do you go from there?
Well, that's why I think maybe the best way for the board to approach it is to say that really the variance is a freestanding sign, but you can put conditions of no greater than or no larger than, kind of those terms to say that we know we've got the parameters of the most that can be allowed. And then I have to meet those parameters when I go to CPDC to get them to approve something within those confines.
Right, I mean,
like that better.
I do too,
really do,
I don't wanna,
because I think there's gonna be resistance to that size. I think, and it's gonna end up smaller than that, and that's why I'm reluctant to approve it as
drawn.
requested. I like it.
Mhm.
I think you need it, because otherwise no one's gonna know the restaurant's
No, you
there.
really won't, you really won't.
Okay,
Yeah.
no one's gonna know it's there, and I think that's unfair to the business, and that's unacceptable.
I think we all want them to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
The downtown,
But I have a problem with the size of it
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah.
So I like
Right.
no
And
greater
then-
than kind of.
yeah, and I do like your suggestion of having it placed in that location, not to be moved wherever.
And then you got the other issue of how you place it.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah.
How do you
If
tilt
it's-
it with
if it's
Haven Street,
moved
okay,
further
too? I mean,
back,
that's
it's also
another
gonna be
issue. Okay.
higher up.
right,
I don't have a problem with the sign.
Yeah.
But I think it should be no larger than.
And that makes perfect sense to me.
That's my.
And it does
that's my
give us
view.
the, some flexibility in dealing with CPDC to make sure that it's kind of looked at in vis-a-vis all the other signs that be on the site. So it is appropriate, it's not.
You don't want to defeat the historical
No, nope, and that's the entire.
presentation of the property, and
Yeah.
the bigger the sign, the
Yeah.
less attractive it is.
Absolutely.
and I do like that the fact that it is a non-internally illuminated, and I think that is something, I mean, that can be up to CPDC, but I do like that it is a, I don't know how that works with the dark sky, conditions.
I don't either, I will admit, but we will definitely meet whatever the requirements are.
I will let them decide on that. We need to open to public comment, I believe, if everybody, do you have something to say, Andrew?
No, I think just size and I'm glad you brought up the location, because I think the location is it's great.
So I will open this meeting to public comment. Hearing none.
I don't draw much of a crowd.
We've had a busy week.
Where's the one in Stoneham?
So it's called Local 403,
Oh,
438.
Yeah, local 438, okay,
Yeah, so they're very much about kind of a local feel. They were thinking about doing
I
local.
didn't know that about them.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, they're very much about, they wanted to originally be local 944, because that's kind of the concept there. They said it doesn't work at this site. It's a historical site, so that's where they did a lot of research and came up with a common district meeting house, which was roughly what used to be here. There was a common district meeting house back when I think we were part of Lynn. Not to go off on tangents, but they did really try to draw on the history, and they like to say that they have that local feel. It's very much going to be this being a place to help support local sports teams, to have kind of events at the restaurant. That's their general MO, and that's what they hope to do here.
Those owners are from Reading too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think, so I should actually get into that, I apologize, I didn't mention, they're not here tonight. One, because it's a married couple, the Colangelos. One is working tonight at the other restaurant, the other one wasn't feeling well and called me last minute and said, I just don't want to risk anything, so I'm not coming in. They would usually be here.
These days, we don't risk anything.
Yeah, so
Don't risk-
that's where we
Holidays
left.
coming up and nobody wants that. Any other comments from the board? So, does anybody wanna You wanna try?
I will, if you can give me the proper words to read.
There you go, and here's
That's yours, by the
this.
way. Did you get the scripts?
So is this the case number, first blank? Might tell.
I think it's the petitioners, so I grant the,
I move to grant the petitioners Haven Street PO LLC. And then read the rest of this. No. A variance from sections 4.5.2, 7.4, 8.5.3, and 8.6 for an interpretation Okay. of the zoning bylaws in order to
It's a lot of going back and forth.
Right. Take some practice. To install an additional freestanding sign where one is permitted and existing on the property located at 136 Haven Street. Property located at Reading, Mass. The following dimensions and specifications as shown.
So to be no bigger than indicated, what page is this?
I think it's drawing number, no, that one's not dimensions. Drawing number 136 dated 9/17/2021, revision 8.
That would include on condition that the
Right.
size of the sign is no greater than 4 feet by 2 feet.
Right.
On condition that, yes.
On the condition that the sign is no greater than approximately
4 feet in height.
8 feet in width and 4 feet in height.
Yeah.
And also in the condition that the sign is located within the plant bed location as depicted on perhaps maybe the signage overview plan. Depicts that area, I think, appropriately.
Yes.
And just to continue, as depicted on the certified plot plan.
Do we have a certified plot plan?
No, not for this.
Not yet.
Not for this
Well,
case.
there is,
Door location diagram.
yes. That's another clause in the bylaw.
Yeah.
That doesn't really show it anyway.
Yes, they need to submit a certified plot plan upon review by CPDC or no?
We'll just need a sign permit application when the business is ready to submit.
So what does he say?
Um,
Cause it says plot plan in the variance, so what should he say instead?
I would say that they receive a certificate of appropriateness from the CPDC and apply for a sign permit application prior to building permit.
Just repeat that, essentially.
No, you can, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Don't write it up all pretty.
Anything else needs to be added? To the
No, I don't believe so.
Somebody want to second that? And Patrick seconds it? All right, so voting on this will be, where did my list of people, sorry, names are not, so Brian, Cy, myself, Cindy, and Patrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Variance passes. Good luck with
Appreciate your time
CPDC.
Hope to see you at the restaurant.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. I lose papers. Yep. And our last other business is the 2022 ZBA meeting schedule.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks,
First
Josh. Good to see
variance
you.
I've ever voted yes on.
Is it really? If I knew my odds, I
Bravo. Very good presentation, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to go.
Thanks,
Thanks. Happy holidays, happy new year.
Thank you.
Good, Brett. You got it. Can't wait.
So, Andrew?
So not much to discuss. I think we shared the 2022 schedule last time with you guys in early November. I just wanted to put it on the agenda, so I made sure that our new members got it. If you know dates in advance that you don't know, you can't make, just let me know, please, so I can throw it in the docket and we can make sure we have quorum for those dates as they get closer. So that would just about do it. If you see any alarming dates, we've gone through holidays, school nights, so hopefully there's none, but if you do see any issues, please just let me know. So.
What is the minimum required quorum? I'm sure it's in the document somewhere.
So meeting quorum is 3, but however, typically in zoning board cases where you're dealing with special permits and variances, an approval is 4 out of 5, so we tried to have 4 at minimum on every meeting.
We were unable to meet because we didn't have
Right.
quorum for a while this summer.
Several missed meetings this fall and
Yeah.
Right.
people.
Well, thank you, welcome. We need somebody to do something so we can leave.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
So many seconds so fast.
I'm hungry.
Dinner time.
We're, everyone in favor? All right,
Aye.
Happy New Year.
Yes, happy holidays. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you,
It's a
welcome.
pleasure to meet you, new fellas.
Thank you very much.
All of us new fellas.
Thank you for
Thank you
helping
guys for
us out.
joining. Thank you guys.
Thanks. You work at Camper 7? I saw your.
I worked there for like 13, 14 years.
I know, yeah, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, I would leave that one and I tossed the rest.
Carrying on.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people.
Got another
Yeah.
one
But
from
they've been in your office
August
sometime.
that might come back around.
I did a lot like museums, so I did
Cool.
like the Patriots, the 49ers, Little League.
Very cool.